Have you ever been in a workplace and wondered why some leaders just create these cultures that feel so stable and empowering, while others, even with the best intentions, seem to end up with either chaos or just rigid control? Well, the answer often isn't about their strategy or hitting performance metrics. It's actually something much deeper. It's about the leader's own internal structure. And there's a framework for this. It's called alignment architecture. And it's basically a blueprint for building leadership from the inside out. So let's explore it together.
It almost always starts subtly, right? You feel a slight increase in pressure around the office. Maybe communication starts to break down just a little bit. There's this growing sense that people are just going through the motions. These are the hidden cracks that start to show up in a culture when a leader's inner world is out of alignment.
And this quote, it just nails the core of the problem. When a leader's sense of value, and by extension the organization's, gets tied directly to output, something really dangerous happens. The whole focus shifts from a person's inherent dignity to their immediate usefulness.
And this misalignment, it isn't just a vague feeling. It has very real, very damaging consequences. It shows up as control, micromanagement, rigidity. Or it can swing the other way into chaos, where there's inconsistency, no one follows through. This can create a culture of compliance, where people are just silent and agree out of fear. And eventually, this just leads to collapse, total burnout, and disengagement. And the whole time, it's often hidden behind this mask of image management, where how things look matters more than how things are.
Okay, so if that's the problem, what's the solution? Well, we need a totally different way to think about leadership. We need a new metaphor. A leader isn't just a manager or a performer. A leader is an architect, someone who intentionally designs and builds a stable structure, starting from the inside. This right here is the heart of the entire framework. Your inner structure isn't something separate from your job. It is your job. It directly shapes it. Everything that's happening inside you, your stability, your clarity, your sense of self, will inevitably show up in the culture you create around you. And this image just illustrates the difference perfectly. On the left, you see a misaligned internal structure, which leads to this unstable outer presence. It's always prone to control, chaos, and eventual collapse. But look at the right. When a leader is internally aligned, their presence creates a stable, sustainable, and what we call a breathable culture, a place where people can actually thrive. So let's put a formal definition on this. Alignment architecture isn't just a nice idea or some philosophy. It's a practical, operational model. It's a framework for building a leadership presence that creates stability by design, not by accident. Think of it like the load-bearing walls and the very foundation that everything else in the organization is built on. So where does an architect begin? With the foundation, right? And for a leader, that foundation is built on two crucial internal pillars. This is the work you have to do on yourself before you can effectively lead anyone else. Here's a quick look at all four domains that make up the complete structure. We're going to start with the two that form the leader's internal foundation. That's identity and thought architecture. First up, the first pillar, and this is the absolute bedrock of presence-driven leadership, is what we call identity architecture. This is the true source of a leader's grounded authority. This really is the essential question of identity architecture. It's all about establishing your worth completely independent of your job title, your performance reviews, or anyone's validation. See, when your identity is anchored in something deeper, you don't need the organization to prove you exist, which means you won't use your people to manage your own anxiety. Okay, so the second inner pillar is your thought architecture. If identity is the ground you stand on, thought architecture is how you decide where to walk. It's all about the quality of your internal decision-making process. I love this metaphor. Think of your mind as an inner boardroom, where all these different voices are competing for control. You've got fear over there, urgency yelling over here, the need for approval chiming in. Well, thought architecture is the practice of governing this boardroom. It's about making sure your decisions come from a place of clean discernment, not just reactive noise. All right, so once that inner foundation feels solid, then we can start to look at how that structure shows up on the outside. And this brings us to the two outer pillars, which are all about how your leadership directly impacts other people and the systems you build. So these outer pillars are dignity and trust. And it's so important to understand that these are not just abstract values. They are operational systems. They are how you build leadership that feels tangible, safe, and reliable to everyone on your team.
Dignity architecture is how you operationalize respect. It's the framework that allows you to hold incredibly high standards without dehumanizing people in the process. It's how you provide accountability and enforce boundaries while always preserving the worth and the agency of every single person. And finally, we have trust architecture. Now, this isn't about being charismatic or having a certain vibe. It's about building reliable, predictable systems. It means your team can count on your consistency. It means they have access to transparent processes. And maybe most importantly, when things go wrong, and they always do, there is a clear and predictable path to repair. See, trust isn't accidental. It's built by design.
So, when a leader truly commits to building all four of these pillars, the two on the inside and the two on the outside, the result is this fundamental shift in the entire atmosphere of the organization.
This slide just brings it all together so clearly. It's like a roadmap. For each domain, you can see the signal that something's misaligned and then the corresponding action to bring it back into alignment. So, for example, a misaligned identity leads to constant image management, but an aligned identity creates grounded authority. Misaligned thought leads to endless rumination. Aligned thought brings clean discernment. It's a direct path from recognizing the problem to finding the solution.
So what's the ultimate payoff for all this work? Well, it's creating a breathable culture. This is an environment where people can pursue excellence without sacrificing their humanity. It's a place where people feel safe enough to tell the truth, to take real responsibility, and to contribute their best work, because the very structure of the leadership makes that possible. So, we'll end with this question for you to reflect on. Your leadership is constantly building something, whether you're conscious of it or not. This framework of alignment architecture gives you the blueprint to be intentional about what you build. So, is your presence building a structure of stability and trust, or one of chaos and control? Ultimately, the choice is yours.